So about a year after it hit theaters, I watched Terminator Dark Fate. It came out last year. It has now ended up on Hulu and I believe Amazon Prime Video. This is a very peculiar situation. One of those redos where we're like, hey, let's cast aside some of the movies in the series and this will pick up on after the ones that people predominantly like. So it's the sequel to Terminator 2, but it's not called Terminator 3. This is a very odd film because it gets some things right, and then what it wants you to get on board with the franchise comes across as very shoehorned and wrong. I will say this. It starts off, and they're playing a clip from Terminator 2 where Linda Hamilton's talking at the hospital, and she's giving that monologue on the video camera, and it's a great scene. You can't give this movie credit for using another movie scene. In fact, it just reminds you, man, I wish one of these streaming platforms had Terminator 2 again, like Netflix used to, right? But as this is going down, you see that there are some good effects. We go to, like, I guess 1998. John Connor, looking a whole lot like he did in T2, gets gunned down on the beach by a not quite Arnold Schwarzenegger deepfake. Linda Hamilton looks great there too. That's about the extent of good special effects in this movie. You know, they could have used more of this deepfake look in something like The Irishman instead of de-aging old bodies. So at any rate, we skip forward some. Now we're in Mexico, and that's where we're telling the real story here. There's this girl, Danny. She works at, what is it, General Motors plant or something. She's building cars. Terminator comes to get her, okay? It's like the T-1000, but they call it a Rev 9 because it's Hispanic. And it's very odd. You got this protector from the future, Grace. She's an enhanced human. Look, I realize that they said the future is different. Oh wait, Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, right? John Connor, Uncle Bob, they prevented Skynet. Well, now we have a new thing. We call it Legion. Same concept. Hell, it even sends Terminators back in time to do the same thing. Oh, but we're not going to call them T something. We're going to call them Rev. So the hell what? It boils down to them being skeleton Terminators. I don't see how you can get an enhanced human in this future scenario where technology is turned against people. So how do you have the technology to enhance a human? Grace goes to save Danny. There's a pretty good chase, but it's so early in the movie, you know, the consequences are pretty low. Linda Hamilton shows up, talks about how she hunts Terminators. Ever since the T-800 killed her son, she gets phone calls, or text messages rather, telling her where Terminators are going to show up. So I guess Skynet / Legion just is always plotting, always sending things back to try to prevent things. She ends up helping out Grace and Danny. But it's so shoehorned in, you're thinking, a lot of this mitigates Grace. The actress, forgot her name, tall chick, she does a pretty good job trying to carry this load. Only for Linda Hamilton to get shoved in, even though her story's wrapped up. Oh, but she's there so that you feel a kinship to the namesake, right? Same thing Arnold Schwarzenegger. An hour into the movie, they find the Terminator that killed John Connor. Lo and behold, he's the one who's been text messaging Sarah Connor. He's trying to make things right. He ends up in some kind of loveless marriage relationship, raising a kid, and working in drapes. Now, one of the things this movie gets right is the comedy. Arnold's hilarious, but in the right way. You're not laughing at the Terminator, as James Cameron has pointed out before. You're laughing with him. So the Terminator can't be the butt of the jokes the way he was in Genisys. But Genisys was so zany with all the weird time travel and J.K. Simmons being a guy who witnessed stuff in 1984. That zaniness helped that movie in some way, whereas this feels like a rehash. We know what's going to happen well in advance. We know the act the little Mexican girl, not that she's a terrible actress, but she does not have the force like Rey Skywalker, right? But no, you can't buy her being the resistance. And of course it wasn't going to be a scenario where it's like, it's your womb, you're going to raise the kid. No, you are the kid that leads man against the machines. Not that I saw anything there to make me believe it. Oh, but I'm telling you, it's really about immigration, because she ends up coming to America. The girl's like 26 years old and can't drive, but at the end of the movie she can. And it gets too cartoonishly over the top with the fights and the effects. And that seems to be a problem. Anybody this way? With a lot of movies that have to compete against Marvel. There was a grounded, relatively, in the Terminator universe car chase early on, only for us to end up in a plane where we're having air-to-air combat, slamming planes into each other, zero-G fights. I don't know who this guy was that authorized it. Sarah Connor called up somebody. I thought it was going to be Miles Dyson's son, Danny. Oh, but we can't have two Dannys. I mean, we are running with Terminator 2 being canon here, right? So why couldn't it have been a relationship that was established? Possibly. I mean, it's something we could buy into. Yeah, so then they end up on a dam. There's parachuting and shit all over the place. People are sinking in the water. Oh, but then we go into the turbine room, and that's where we're able to kill the Rev 9. Because we can't just pull up into a place that's molten iron. We can't do that, because that's been done. We have to have some kind of equivalent way to kill the Rev 9, whose real only difference here is T-1000 skin can come off, T-800 endoskeleton below. That's about it. Comparatively speaking, the TX seemed more advanced in Terminator 3. But I didn't really get a sense of doom. It's got too much of a bright look about it. There's a fuzzy ass scene that looks so obviously green screen we couldn't actually shoot outdoors, where Grace appeared. Oh, well, we got a woman coming, but she's naked, so we're gonna have to shoot that from the head up and all sorts of weird blurry angles. Right, we gotta do that nonsense. But we made it a rated R, so she's gonna drop F-bombs. You get my way, I'll F you up. Okay, whatever. I like the idea that she had to stay hydrated. That she had to get some meds. Her enhancements, she could only fight a Rev 9 for so long. And then she was spent. I mean, it doesn't really come up as that explored later, honestly. And then she gets sacrificed. Lo and behold, she has a power cell in her, just like the T-850 in Terminator 3, that can be used to take out the Rev 9 with the help of the sacrifice from Arnold's Terminator, who does it for John. Because over time he's become remorseful. I like the idea of seeing what happens to a T-800 after he's accomplished his mission. We know he has that learning processor. There's even a subtle scene where he has a dog that is calm and obedient. You never seen a dog not lose their shit around Terminator before. There's growth there. It kind of just seems like it's in the wrong story. Because everything Sarah Connor, John Connor, Uncle Bob did is finished. And now they're kind of like found their way into Danny's tale. Yeah, we're probably not getting any more Terminators after this. And maybe that's good. It doesn't mean the franchise has failed at all. We told the story, it's time to move on. Look at it like Cowboy Bebop. Now, even though they're doing a live action shit now, right? The story's finished. Let's move on and tell some other stories. I give Terminator Dark Fate 2.5 out of 4 stars.